What's happening, everyone? My name is James Lynch, and in today's video, I'm going to look ahead to next year and pick the top 5 fights I want to see happen, and some of these will be obvious. Some of them won't. Try to get a little bit creative with this, and also I'm going to give you my percentage of whether I think the fight's going to happen or not. Some of these are a little out there, and some of them are very obvious. And to start, we're going to go with kind of an obvious one, but I really do want to see this fight, and I hope it happens. I'd put this percentage at about 90%. You might think, James, why isn't this 100%? Well, I'll explain in a second. But that is Belal Magomed and Shavkakt Rakmana. Now, these two were supposed to fight at UFC 310. Belal obviously got injured and was not able to take the fight. But we find out after the Shavkakt fight against Ian Gary that he's got an MCL tear. I don't know how long that he's going to be out for. So there's a possibility that maybe if the injury doesn't heal properly or there's some issues, that maybe this fight doesn't happen next and they go with someone else to fight for the title. But yeah, I think it most likely will happen. So that's why I said 90%, but that 10% is me not being a smart enough person to know how long Shavkakt's going to be out. And you know, big reason I want to see this fight, obviously, is I want to see Shavkakt in a title shot and see if the last fight was just, you know, really an injury and you know, maybe not his best performance because of that, or maybe it's because Ian Gary's that good. I'm just curious to see if Belal can do it again. Can he, you know, play the role of spoiler? You know, Shavkakt is already going to be the favorite in this fight. I'm just curious to see if Belal can do it. And I think it's just a really intriguing matchup, right? Like, you've got two, you know, really notable fighters in the weight class going toe to toe. So yeah, 90% chance I think this happens. Very excited. Hope this one happens next year. Again, that 10% is just the injury status of Shavkakt. We know Belal will be ready to go. It seems like he is recovering well from his injury. Okay, coming in at number 4, and this is a really low percentage fight that could happen. I just think this fight would be fun. You guys let me know in the comments. And obviously one of these guys is already booked right now, and that is Rafael Fiziev, who we know is already fighting Gamrot. He's doing the rematch with him coming up. Actually, they don't have it listed here, but that's what's going to happen. He's going to fight Gamrot next year. And I'd like to see him and Benoît Saint-Denis go at it. I know Saint-Denis had a tough year, obviously losing the 2 fights, but just style-wise, you look at his submissions, his knockouts, you got Fiziev, obviously he's a knockout artist, 67% of his wins. I just think this would be an awesome fight, like a total fight of the night, or, you know, a fight that would probably headline like a fight night card, or would be like a pay-per-view opener fight. I don't know how it could happen. I mean, I guess I'll tell you right now how I think it could happen. Saint-Denis fights someone, I don't know who next, to start off the year. Hopefully he gets back in there pretty soon. I don't know the extent of the eye injury he suffered, but I'm assuming he's ready to go early next year. He fights someone, he wins, and Fiziev possibly loses to Gamrot, because that's the fight he's having. That's how I think this fight could take place. You know, Saint-Denis gets the win, Fiziev gets a loss, or maybe they do give it to Fiziev if he's coming off like a big win or something along those lines, right? So that's sort of how I'm looking at this. So that's coming in at my number 4 pick. Like I said, not a high percentage on this one. Okay, this is another kind of low percentage one. I just would like to see this fight just simply for the fact that I think it would be like a good build up to the fight. They both can sell a fight. It'll be very interesting. And the first one is Israel Adesanya. And yes, I know he's fighting Nasruddin Imavov next year, but again, as a former champion, as a pretty notable name in the UFC, would not shock me if Adesanya gets yet another title shot if he wins the fight against Imavov, which I think is possible. I think he can defeat Imavov. I'd like to see him and Khamzat Chimaev. Now, this fight could happen because here's the path on how it could happen. Chimaev fights the winner of DDP and Strickland, and doesn't matter who that is. And I would think that Chimaev can defeat either one of them. So he's the champion, and Adesanya gets the win over Imavov, and they fight each other. Now, I don't think this would be a very good stylistic matchup for Israel Adesanya, but I just think it's like 2 of the biggest names in the weight class going toe-to-toe. I think it could be very interesting if that does end up coming to fruition. Now, obviously, there's some issues with Chimaev fighting in the U.S. I think those have to get cleared up and everything. I know I see a lot of people out there saying, oh, yeah, no problem, because Trump's president, it's going to be no issue. I mean, until I see that that's the case, I think we can bank on Chimaev not fighting in the U.S. anytime soon until that gets sorted out. But saying that, they do put Adesanya on a lot of international cards as well, so we'll see. But yeah, I just want to see this fight just because they're 2 of the biggest names in the division. Could Adesanya's, you know, keep the fight upright and you know, use his, you know, superior, well, I shouldn't say superior, but they both got good striking. So I'd like to see this fight if it stays standing. If not, Chimaev probably takes him down and chokes him out, but it would still be just a fun fight to see, just with the 2 big names involved. So I think Adesanya Chimaev would be like a really interesting matchup to take place. So I could see that happening. Okay. Next one. I put this at 70%, and you know, again, people might think it should be higher, but at the time I'm recording this, they have not booked this fight yet, and it absolutely should happen next. And that is Alex Pereira and Khalil Roundtree 2. No, I'm joking. No, it's Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev. I just want to see this fight. Listen, I know there's fans out there for whatever reason they don't like Ankalaev or whatever. I don't get it. I think Ankalaev is a good fighter. I just want to see Pereira fight someone that's not just purely a striker, someone that's a little bit more well-rounded, like we saw with the Jan Blachowicz fight. I want to see that type of style matchup, and Ankalaev certainly brings that. And we've got a guy in Ankalaev who hasn't lost since the Paul Craig fight, in a fight that he was clearly winning until he got submitted at the last moment. So I would like to see Ankalaev and Pereira go toe-to-toe. I give it 70% because the UFC, for whatever reason, has not put this fight together when they easily could have at UFC 307 last year, but they didn't. I just want to see it. I might be alone here, but I really, really, really want to see this matchup. And here's the other thing that I really, really, really want to see. These two fan bases going toe to toe. You got the crazy Pereira fans who are like, Shama this, like everything Pereira does, he's like a god. And then you've got the Dagestani fans who, take very much a lot of pride in their guys, and they will go to war with them on social media if there's any criticism or critique. So just those two fan bases going toe to toe, that could be even more exciting than the fight itself. But I'm very intrigued to see this matchup happen. I hope it happens. Alex Pereira, Magomed Ankalaev, it's got to take place. That comes in at my number 2 spot. Okay, number 1. It's maybe obvious to a lot of people, but we got to see this fight. And I give the percentage of this happening 3%. That's how not optimistic I am about this next fight I'm about to talk about. And you know where I'm going with this. Tom Aspinall, that's right, the interim champ against the current heavyweight champion, Jon Jones. Just make the fight. You got to pay Jon Jones, pay him. Do it. I don't think Jones is going to take it, though. Like, I don't know. I've been very firm on this channel. I don't think it happens. That's why I give it such a low percentage. But I want to see it. That's the most exciting heavyweight fight you can put together right now, is Jones and Aspinall. And I don't need to hear from anyone that Aspinall has not earned his opportunity at Jon Jones. Said it time and time again. Aspinall, the only guy he hasn't fought that's notable in the weight class is Cyril Gane. And maybe that is the next fight for him. I don't know. But I think he beat Cyril Gane. Gane didn't look so good in his last fight. I thought he lost his last fight against Volkov. So really, you've got Aspinall. Let's say Volkov ended up getting the judge's decision on that one. Aspinall's already defeated him. We could see that rematch, but I'd rather see Jon Jones. Like, Jones's legacy at 205 will always be cemented. He's always got that. I don't get why Jones just doesn't want to fight Aspinall. He could be, if he does beat Aspinall, then it's like, that's a huge feather in his cap, way more so than beating Gane or beating Stipe Miocic, in my opinion. So this is the number 1 fight I want to see. I would absolutely try and cover this one as a member of the media. Like, doesn't matter if the rest of the card was terrible. I just want to see this fight. I want to see it take place. I want to see it happen. I hope the UFC can make it happen. But like I said, I'm also a realist, even though I'm someone that wants to see this fight, and I don't think it happens, but it's still going to be my number 1 pick. This is the number 1 fight I would like to see next year take place, is Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall. And I think they got to make it happen. If it's a money thing or whatever, they got to do whatever they can to accommodate both parties and make this happen. But at the time I'm recording this, it does not seem like it's happening, right? We haven't heard any progress or anything. We've heard little, bits and pieces of it taking place, and that's basically all that we thought of. So again, I know, some of these are kind of obvious, some of these are not like groundbreaking. I'll go over the list one more time. So I got Aspinall and Jones, Pereira and Ankalaev, Israel Adesanya, Hamzat Chimaev, Benoît Saint-Denis and Rafael Fiziev, and Shavkakt, Rakhmonov and Belal Muhammad. Are there any other ones that are on your mind that you want to see for next year? Now, again, I'm trying to think of fights that there is a path to making it happen. I've explained that in everything here. I mean, Jones and Aspinall, there's no path to be had. They should fight each other next. Pereira and Ankalaev, there should be no path blocking that happening either. Ones like Chimaev and Adesanya, a bunch of stuff has to happen. Same thing with Benoît Saint-Denis and Fiziev. And Shavkakt hopefully is healthy and is going to fight Belal Muhammad. But I really do want to see that fight. I think that's going to be really awesome and very interesting if it does take place. So those are the top 5 I went with. Let me know in the comments, if you can. Let me know what would be your top 5 fights you want to see take place next year. And come up with realistic ones. Like people saying Ilya and Islam. Of course I'd want to see that fight, but that's not going to happen. Even if Ilya moves up next year, I don't think that's a fight that's going to take place next year, because Islam's, he's got the Arman fight. There's, other contenders waiting in the wings. I just don't think that's a fight that'll happen next year. I think if it happens, I think it happens down the line, but that's kind of where I'm getting at here. So what are some fights you want to see for next year? Let me know. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.